I moved out 2 weeks ago. No drama, no screaming, no broken plates, just silence, boxes, and a final glance back at the house I thought I'd grow old in. So when my neighbor called yesterday whispering, "There was screaming from your house last night," I froze. I wasn't there. Nobody was. Or so I thought. I've been gaslighted before, made to doubt my own mind. But this was different. Because before I left, I planted something in that house. Not out of paranoia, out of instinct. And now that instinct might be the only thing standing between me and total erasure. When I first moved into the Whitmore estate, it felt like stepping into a future someone else had dreamed for me. The house wasn't just smart, it was sentient. Lights responded to your mood, fridge inventories synced with your DNA-based diet plan. Every room had a voice, a memory, a setting for comfort. And to my surprise, so did I. I had been Rachel M. Carter, senior legal advisor at a Manhattan tech firm. No time for lunch, no tolerance for charm. Then I met Ethan Whitmore, son of the founder of Whitmore Labs, a Silicon Valley prodigy with a calm voice and a curated beard. "Marry me," he said one foggy night, "and we'll rewrite what family means." So I did. And for the first few months, it was perfect. His family embraced me like a new app they couldn't stop using. Sunday brunches were filmed for their vlog, Modern Legacy, a digital journal of how the Whitmores reinvent tradition. I was the outsider turned centerpiece. The tech-savvy daughter-in-law answering questions about biometric contracts and privacy rights with the same enthusiasm as I used to argue in court. The cameras adored me. So did the audience. "She's brilliant. Power couple vibes. Wish I was a Whitmore." But then, little things began to shift. My bedroom schedule started changing. My morning yoga class disappeared from my synced planner. A grocery list popped up filled with foods I was allergic to. The temperature in my room dropped 2 degrees colder than the rest of the house. "Harmless glitches," Ethan assured me. "The system's still learning you," he laughed. Then came the meetings. Important calls with my freelance legal clients were rescheduled without my doing. I opened my planner and saw a note, rescheduled to 11 a.m. per Rachel. I had never made that change. I searched my history. Nothing. The logs were clean. "Maybe you forgot," his sister Nora said at dinner. She smiled. "You've had a lot on your plate lately." Maybe I had. Then came the door. One Tuesday, I tried to leave for a cafe meeting. My thumbprint wouldn't unlock the door. I laughed, tried again. Nothing. I asked the system for a manual override. "Unauthorized request," it replied. "Profile mismatch." "What profile?" I whispered. "Request denied." I messaged Ethan. He texted back, "Be home in 10. Don't panic." When he arrived, the door opened instantly. He kissed my forehead and said, "You must have updated something wrong." I hadn't touched a thing. I started sleeping lighter. I began watching the cameras more than the vlog comments. At 2:17 a.m. one morning, I noticed the hallway lights flicker on, motion activated. I was in bed. Ethan was asleep, but the lights turned on near the guest room. I replayed the footage. Nothing showed. The screen glitched at 2:17 a.m. for exactly 5 seconds. I asked Ethan the next day. "Probably a cat," he said. We didn't have a cat. The house felt colder. That weekend, Ethan's mother Lillian asked me to appear in a special episode, Balancing Brilliance and Marriage. She held my hand, eyes glowing. "You're the best thing that's happened to Ethan. We want the world to see how we support strong women." The crew set up in the dining room. Makeup, lighting, audio, flawless. We laughed. I quoted Virginia Woolf. Ethan kissed my hand on camera. The episode aired. The internet loved us. But that night, I woke up to a blank screen on my phone, restarted it, blank again. I walked down to the kitchen. Lights didn't respond. I used the panel. All systems. Offline due to network conflict. I opened the control app. "You are not the authorized user for this device." I stared at the screen. My name was gone. I wasn't locked out. I was erased. I took the car keys, only to find the car missing from the driveway. So I left, quietly, packed a single suitcase, walked 3 blocks, called a cab, and went to my mother's place. She asked no questions, just hugged me. I told her I needed space. 2 nights later, my phone rang. "Rachel?" It was my neighbor, Mrs. Grant, from next door. Her voice was tense. "I didn't want to bother you," she said. "But last night, was everything okay at the house?" I sat up in bed. "What do you mean?" "There was screaming from your house around midnight. My husband was going to knock, but we figured you were fighting, didn't want to intrude." I nearly dropped the phone. "Mrs. Grant, I haven't been there since Tuesday." Silence. "Oh," she said finally. "Then who was?" I didn't answer, because I already knew what they were doing. I didn't go to the police. There was no way to prove a scream from an empty house meant something. Not yet. But instinct told me to check my bank account. The login page loaded normally, but when I entered my credentials, it blinked once and returned an error. "Access denied. Account frozen pending authorization." I tried again. Same result. I switched devices. Nothing. I called the support line. My number was flagged as not authorized. I stared at the screen, heart thudding. My name was still there. But under control access, it read, "Guardian assigned, Ethan Whitmore." I wasn't just frozen. I was owned. Panic swelled. I opened my legal inbox. The law firm I'd contracted for a side case had messaged me. "We received a conflicting request from your alternate signature. Please confirm which is valid." Attached was a document I'd never seen, signed with my full name, seal, encryption, and even my cadence of phrasing. A perfect fake. I called Ben, my mentor from Manhattan, the only lawyer I trusted. "Ben, it's Rachel. I need to talk." His voice was cautious. "Rachel, the last email I got from you asked to close all accounts and forward records to Ethan." "No, Ben, that wasn't me." He sighed. "Then we have a problem. That email was digitally signed. It passed biometric pattern tests. Deep fake. My voice, my phrasing, my rhythm, replicated. That night I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't tell my mother. I made tea, I watched the steam, I listened to the silence. Then I texted Ethan, "You win. I'll come back tomorrow." He replied with a single word, "Finally." I returned to the Whitmore house like a broken doll, eyes lowered, voice soft. Everyone smiled. Ethan, his mother, Nora. The house lit up with warm tones. A favorite song played when I stepped inside. "Welcome home, Rachel," the system purred. I nodded, unpacked slowly, and waited for nightfall. Once the house went quiet, I slipped into the basement. I still remembered the back-end systems. Whitmore Labs used a modified blockchain ledger for their home controls. I didn't need to control the house. I just needed to mirror it. Using a burner laptop I had hidden in my suitcase lining, I began creating a shadow identity, Rachel Mirror. It wasn't legal, it wasn't secure, but it was mine, and it was invisible. The clone began syncing every camera feed, voice command, biometric log the house recorded. It took hours. I barely breathed. At 3:12 a.m., I saw my first flag. Footage from 3 nights ago. Ethan walking into my bedroom while I was gone, adjusting pillows, unzipping the suitcase I had left behind, then looking into the camera and smiling. The file had been renamed Unstable Behavior Capture.mp4. They were building a case, a false one. The next day, I found the old crypto wallet Ethan once gave me as a joke. I loaded it with tokens, contacted a darknet server I used in law school for surveillance ethics research, and typed one word into the access field, help. Within 2 hours, I had a reply. Cyberfems, Tween 25, drop your footage. We'll reconstruct reality. I uploaded everything. Camera clips, logs, even audio of the family dinner where Nora joked I was the emotional liability of the house. 3 hours later, I got an interactive simulation back. Every room, every camera, every falsified moment placed on a timeline. Cyberfems 2025. They're planning to institutionalize you. 72 hours, tops. The appointment's already booked. Private facility. No questions asked. I stared at the message. It made sense. Make me disappear. Silence my story. Frame me as unstable. Reclaim assets. I was a liability because I knew too much. And so I triggered the failsafe. My mirror identity had one last function, an emergency command embedded in the blockchain that, if executed, would release every piece of data across a decentralized network. Immutable. Unstoppable. I called it Siren Protocol. I didn't press it yet. I waited. 2 nights later, at 3:04 a.m., the door to my room unlocked with a soft click. Footsteps. Soft. Careful. I stayed still. Nora entered. She whispered, "Rachel, you need help. We love you, but you're spiraling." I said nothing. She sat on the edge of the bed, voice syrup sweet. "We've made arrangements. It's a beautiful place. You'll rest. You'll come back." I looked her in the eye. "Can I say goodbye to Ethan first?" She blinked. "He's resting, but he agrees. This is best. Give me 5 minutes alone." She smiled. "Of course." When the door closed, I reached under the pillow, tapped my burner. Siren Protocol, active, files transferred, data released, across thousands of nodes, video, audio, logs, legal trails, all verified, authenticated, time-stamped. By the time they realized what happened, it was already out. They didn't arrest me. Not officially. After the Siren Protocol launched, there was too much noise. Thousands of people had already seen the footage. Digital forensics confirmed timestamps, chain of custody, biometric data. I wasn't just a woman fighting for her name. I was now the viral face of digital domestic abuse. Within 48 hours, I was contacted by a group calling themselves CTRL-LT, anonymous journalists, coders, former insiders. Their motto, "We don't expose people, we expose systems." They'd seen my case. They wanted to help. We set up a secure relay. They gave me tools to verify metadata, reverse engineer deepfakes, and map out the edits in the Whitmore footage, frame by frame. What we found was nauseatingly meticulous. In the original footage, Ethan's mother, Lillian, walks into my room holding a tray. She knocks. I answer the door, take the tray, say thank you, but in the version they distributed, I yank the door open. Lillian stumbles backward, the tray crashes. I shout something incoherent. Her eyes widen, fade to black. 2 identical videos, one true, one weaponized. CTRL-L helped me prep a stealth live stream. Unlisted link, encrypted backup servers. We called it the Dollhouse Trial. When it aired, it exploded. Millions watched as we played both videos side by side, paused them, zoomed in, showed the edits. The reaction online was instantaneous. This is abuse of power. This family needs to be investigated. She's not crazy, she's caged. But then something happened. I tried to upload a key segment, a private clip where Nora whispers to Ethan about getting Rachel out before the audit. But the upload failed. Error code. Checksum mismatch. I checked the file again. It looked wrong. Off by milliseconds. Audio slightly warped. Ctrl-Alt ran it through their analyzer. Verdict? Modified. It was my footage, but altered. Someone had tampered with my originals. Panic burned through me. I ran integrity checks on all the files I'd backed up in the last 2 weeks. Every single one, every Siren Protocol node had been quietly overwritten. Not fully corrupted, just nudged, just enough to cast doubt. CTRL-ALT grew silent. They suspected infiltration. I reached out to the only group I thought was airtight, Cyberfems 2025, the women who had first helped me build the simulation. Their admin, Zuri, responded. Her message chilled me. We need to talk, privately, off-chain. We met on a call through an encrypted mesh net. Her face was partially obscured. Her voice was slightly modulated, but I could still hear something else. Hesitation. "I didn't want to believe it," she said, "but someone in our core group flagged you as a false whistleblower 2 days ago. That triggered a review, a quarantine on your uploads." "A quarantine?" I asked. "Who filed the flag?" She paused. "Me, but under duress." I felt the floor tilt. She explained it all. 3 weeks prior, Zuri had been approached by a shadow buyer. They offered crypto, enough to retire 3 times over, in exchange for slowing down my distribution. No deletion. Just friction. They claimed they had leverage, old messages, potential lawsuits, a rumor I doctored evidence in a prior case. Zuri refused. Then her mother was doxxed. Her IP burned. Her financials leaked. She caved. "They made it look like you forged the first email to Ben," she whispered. "The one with the deep fake signature. It's everywhere now. Your name is trending again, but not for the reasons you want." I stared at the screen. Everything I'd built, the vindication, the support, the case, was unraveling. My victory was now suspect. Whispers filled forums. What if she faked it all? What if she set them up? What if she's the manipulator? Iuktrilaeld ghosted me. My inbox dried up. Journalists stopped replying. I filed a complaint to the International Digital Rights Board. No response. Then a cease and desist landed in my inbox from Whitmore Labs. The claim? Defamation through tampered digital media, malicious intent, fraud. I had lost. Again. All except for one thing. A single external hard drive hidden behind the HVAC duct in the server room of the Whitmore estate. I had installed it before I left the first time, a leftover habit from my days in legal tech auditing. It didn't sync with any cloud. It wasn't part of Siren protocol. It was analog, untouched. I booked a ride to the house. Ethan was out of state. The family had moved operations to a private estate in Napa, according to public filings. The house stood empty, but the system still recognized my voice. I walked in. The air felt colder. I went straight to the vent, unscrewed the plate, and pulled out the hard drive. It blinked once, alive. Inside were the untouched feeds from every internal room, including ones never shown in the house system. Ethan's private office, Nora's late-night calls, Lillian's actual outbursts where she threatened to have me removed like the others. It was all there, raw, untouched, final. This wasn't just my defense. This was war. The day I filed the lawsuit, I wore the same suit I'd worn in my first court win back in New York. Charcoal gray, slightly out of fashion, perfectly pressed. My hair was pulled back, my face bare. No makeup, no filter, no armor, but the truth. I didn't walk into a courtroom. I logged into a blockchain. The Digital Identity Rights Act had passed 6 months prior. Barely a whisper in mainstream media, designed for victims of identity erasure in the smart citizen era, it allowed for a new kind of trial, fully autonomous, legally binding, driven by verified data rather than courtroom theatrics. The platform was called LexNet, AI-moderated, juryless, unhackable. I uploaded my claim, R. Carter versus Whitmore Estate and Affiliates, nature of violation, systematic revocation and manipulation of digital selfhood, resulting in psychological, financial, and reputational harm. The hard drive I'd retrieved, let's call it the ARC, contained 740 hours of raw footage, audio, biometric logs, and metadata trails, all of it decentralized, immutable. When I pressed submit, the network flared, the smart contract sealed, and the trial began. LexNet sent automated summons to Ethan, Lillian, Nora, and 5 associated shell companies connected to Whitmore Labs. They had 72 hours to respond. They tried to stall. They filed injunctions in 3 separate jurisdictions. But LexNet wasn't bound to state law. It responded with 3 words: already verified claim. The system began parsing evidence. It started with a timeline, automatically generating a three-dimensional sequence of events based on my data. Every camera feed aligned, every audio sync matched. Even timestamps from the manipulated footage showed digital fingerprints, evidence of premeditation. Then LexNet pulled the deep fake models. It reverse-engineered the signatures, analyzing the pixel artifacts in the email I'd supposedly sent Ben, the altered clips of Lillian, the manipulated voiceovers in my meltdowns. The code didn't lie. The plan had started 3 years before our wedding. The Whitmore estate had a pattern. 3 previous women, each one brought into the home, given a public identity, and then erased. One was hospitalized for paranoid delusions. One disappeared to Canada. One, the earliest, had tried to sue and was bought off before her trial made it past pre-review. LexNet labeled this systemic pattern of abuse through digital identity suppression. When the system rendered its mid-trial report, I nearly dropped to my knees. Probability of fraudulent manipulation, 99.83% AI conclusion. Coordinated digital gaslighting for financial gain. Ethan responded publicly through a PR firm. This is a weaponized narrative, the statement read. Rachel was unwell. We tried to help her. We regret her choice to engage in public theatrics. But the theatrics weren't mine. They belonged to the live stream. LexNet trials were public. By design. Everything transparent. Every line of code. Every facial twitch. Every conflicting timestamp. And the world watched. Justice. InCode trended for 3 straight days. I did 3 interviews, not on TV, but in metaspaces. Users could walk through my evidence, sit in on replays, explore the courtroom reconstruction built entirely from verified logs. One clip went especially viral. Lillian, in a hidden conversation with Ethan, says, "You don't need to hurt them physically, just strip the system. When the world doesn't recognize them anymore, they vanish on their own." That clip reached 28 million views in 2 days. People began posting their own stories, gaslit by exes, silenced by biometric manipulation, locked out of homes, finances, schools. LexNet allowed public commentary tied to the trial feed, and it became an avalanche. The final phase began on day 10. LexNet's adjudication, AI, named Themis, released its ruling. Defendants found guilty of coordinated digital identity erasure, behavioral gaslighting, financial suppression, and attempted legal entrapment through falsified metadata. Penalties? Ethan Whitmore, 20 years sentence under federal digital manipulation statute. Lillian Whitmore, 15 years suspended sentence with mandatory biometric supervision. Nora Whitmore, permanent ban from all smart identity platforms, 5 years probation, financial reparations, transfer of all liquid Whitmore assets under Rachel Carter's original digital profile, immediate restoration of Rachel Carter's Smart ID authority, public correction of all network data tagged with misinformation, and then my voice returned. The Smart ID system lit up. I was real again. My accounts reappeared. My credentials were live. My face unlocked every system it once had. And when I spoke to the house, "Good evening, home," it answered, "Welcome back, Rachel." I cried then, not because I had won, but because I hadn't known how much I'd lost until the system remembered me again. 2 days later, I stood in front of the house for the first time without trembling. My name was on the property again, both legally and digitally. A young girl with a school project drone hovered nearby. She waved. "Are you the woman from the trial?" I smiled. "Yes." "My mom says you made history." "No," I said. "I just rewrote the code. They called me the queen of the system." Within weeks of the LexNet ruling, I was offered 3 book deals, 2 documentary contracts, and an invitation to deliver the closing talk at TED Digital. The world wanted the woman who rewrote justice, the woman who bled in code and survived. I said yes. I signed a contract with an imprint of HarperTech. The book would be titled Unforgotten Surviving Digital Erasure. The cover featured my silhouette behind a glitch filter. I approved it without blinking. I started a foundation, the Phoenix Protocol. We funded smart legal defenses for women being gaslit through smart homes, social credit systems, and biometric suppression. Donations poured in. So did volunteers. I gave interviews in AR spaces. I walked through a metaverse replica of my trial. I touched my own courtroom. It felt surreal, clean, safe. But nothing real is ever that simple. The message arrived during a post-event dinner in LA. I was seated between a Netflix producer and a woman who claimed to have built empathy algorithms for the justice system. My phone buzzed, unknown. Sender, you copied our method. Just that. No context, no link, no name. I froze. The words scrolled across my brain like code in a debug terminal. I showed it to no one. Back at the hotel, I ran it through a filter. No traceable origin, no ID tags. Air-gapped source. It could have been a prank, could have been someone trying to shake me, but deep down it felt like something else. A warning. 2 days later, a subpoena arrived, filed by Whitmore Holdings. The charge? Data exploitation and unauthorized use of proprietary systems for public trial. They were suing me. Despite having lost the LexNet trial, they argued that my dissemination of house data for the live stream violated the terms of the Smart Property Clause embedded in their original build licenses. They had new lawyers, new angles, and a whole new system of influence. The story began to twist. Articles appeared on fringe tech sites. Was Rachel Carter's victory a publicity con? The ethics of weaponizing personal data, even against abusers. I was still hailed as a symbol, but now a controversial one. The calls slowed. The bookings shrank. My TED Talk was suddenly postponed for programmatic balance. I reached out to Ben. He'd returned to practice after the LexNet trial. "What's going on?" I asked. "How are they still coming after me?" He hesitated. "They're not going after you. They're going after your legacy." Then he sent me a link. It opened into a virtual game space, VR compatible, full immersion. The title, Justice Run, The Rachel Carter Trial Experience. I logged in. The menu offered me 3 roles: the accused, the survivor, or the strategist. The environment loaded, a perfect replica of the Whitmore house. My house. But now it was gamified. Players could choose dialogue branches, manipulate video evidence, win public favor, lose sanity points. They could play through being me. I watched a teenager in Tokyo livestream his gameplay. He chose to fake the abuse, discredit the evidence, and walk away with a $10 settlement and fan applause. Comments poured in. Best outcome yet. Rachel who? This one's smarter. Still better than the Netflix doc. I closed the stream. My hands were shaking. I messaged the platform. No reply. I traced the server host, offshore, rerouted through 7 identity layers, built on a private justice engine called Verdict VR. I dug deeper. It was owned by a holding group under a Silicon Valley firm called Judica Labs. Their tagline? Justice as a service. They were running scenarios based on real cases, selling them, building algorithms, feeding AI training models with my story, without permission. I found my voice samples in their code library, my pacing, my tone, my phrasing, all harvested and legal. Because during the live stream trial, my likeness had entered the public training corpus. The very system that saved me was now consuming me. I called Ben again. "I want to file suit." He paused. "Against whom?" "All of them." He sighed. "Then be prepared to burn it all." The news broke 3 days later. Rachel Carter sues AI gaming giant over story ownership. Some cheered. Others called me greedy. "Weren't you the one who said justice should be free?" One tweet read, "Now you want royalties for your trauma?" Even allies turned cold. Donors pulled back. And in the silence, I asked myself the one question I'd never dared before. Had I stopped seeking justice, or had I become its product? One night, alone in the smart home I'd once fought for, I sat with all systems off. No lights, no music, just the quiet hum of servers breathing in the walls. A voice echoed through the speaker. Familiar. Rachel. Would you do it all again? It wasn't the house. It was Verdict VR, streaming their new teaser, using my voice. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I powered everything down. I vanished. No public statements, no press rebuttals, no more interviews, podcasts, panels, or protests. Just silence. For the first time in years, I unplugged. I moved to a small coastal town under a different name. No smart locks, no voice-activated assistants, just manual everything. Doors, windows, clocks. My only machine was a stripped-down offline terminal, no ports, no cloud. And still, I worked. Every day for 12 months, I rewrote justice. Not the kind that lived in headlines, not the theatrical kind. I built a framework called the Human Patch, a decentralized operating protocol that sat beneath legal systems, designed not to decide truth, but to detect the erosion of it. It listened for patterns, micro-hesitations in voice logs, irregular data timestamps, missing camera pings, sudden shifts in biometric baselines. It didn't replace judges. It warned them. It didn't override juries. It flagged anomalies. It didn't silence abusers. It stripped their camouflage. It was real time, ethical, auditable, human-centered. I submitted the full proposal, code, simulations, governance protocols, to the Department of Digital Justice under the name Project Veritas, Justice Engine. I expected a cold archive. Instead, I received a message. We've been waiting for this. Within months, it was piloted in 3 cities. Within a year, 12. It became mandatory in smart courtrooms by year 3. I didn't appear on launch day. My name wasn't in the credits. I didn't need it to be. I had already lived what it meant to be forgotten. This was never about legacy. It was about prevention, about giving others what I never had. 5 years later, I heard the knock. Soft, polite, hesitant. I opened the door to find a girl, no older than 13, standing in the drizzle, her backpack soaked, her cheeks pink from wind. "Are you Ms. Carter?" I said nothing. She didn't flinch. "My mom says you don't exist anymore." Still, I said nothing. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small device. No screen, just a silver cube. She pressed one corner. It lit up. A projection flickered. My voice, my trial, my breakdown, my code, every file I'd ever created. The raw truth, not the edited stories, not the streamed game versions, my real life. She held it out with both hands. "This saved me," she whispered. "I watched it. I know what my stepmother's doing. She's making fake videos of me. She wants to send me away." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I recorded her. I followed what you did. I don't know how to make it matter." My throat tightened. I reached for her hand. Cold, trembling, fierce. "How did you find me?" I asked. She smiled. "You left your signature in the Justice Engine's root code." She opened a line of code on her device. Rachel Orig, patch Ora 1, my first patch. Never meant to be public. Just a developer tag, a whisper of authorship. She had found me through the algorithm I built to protect others. The ghost in the machine had become a map. I made her tea. Let her sit by the fire. I gave her a blanket and a notepad. "Start by writing down everything," I said. "Every time she altered something. Every time you saw it. Every time you felt the shift." She wrote for hours. When she finished, I plugged her device into my offline terminal. We built a file. We drafted a declaration. We coded a petition into the Justice Engine Citizen Relay. When we hit send, the system flared green. Petition received. Verified pattern of coercive deepfake abuse. Case ID J247C. I turned to her. "They'll review it within 48 hours. Her eyes widened. "That fast?" "It's what it was designed to do," I said. "Now it just works." She looked around the cottage. "Do people still come here?" No, I said, just you. She smiled. Then I must be special. You are, I said. After she left, I watched her walk back down the hill, her backpack no longer sagging, her footsteps surer, her silhouette steady in the storm. The rain had stopped. The wind had calmed. I turned off the terminal, lit a candle. And for the first time in years, I let myself believe that this story, my story, was never about erasure. It was about planting something resilient, something that would outlive me. A patch for the human soul stitched in code and passed down, one line at a time.